All right. Hey, welcome everyone to another XAFers community stand-up. I think that today's topic is a really interesting one, especially with the direction that everything is taking. We're going to be talking about identity framework and basically things that we are using XPO, and now we are getting used to a new way of doing things, especially in new projects. And we go from there. We're going to discuss soft deletion. We're going to discuss concurrency, migrations, property change, the types, the identity framework map, like varchar, decimal, and basically talk a little bit of the community contributions that I don't know if you have seen. There is a clone module that already someone provide. Their solutions are coming along the way. So as always, before we start, I see Hoche, Dave here. We also have a really good participant today, Jean-Paul. He has been really active on the entity framework, and he will talk to us about this. He actually helped us go, and he has and will talk about this and show it. XAF Entity Framework Playground. This is a public repository you guys can check. And all right, Hoche, can you introduce yourself for anyone who's watching this for the first time? Dave as well, and then we start going through all the good things. As always, I don't have it today on, but I will put it quickly. The Facebook group, please join in. I think that we are almost now. Let's take a look at the number. I always amaze. The community growing. We have like, it's going to be 2,900. So thank everyone for joining in, and follow XAF on Twitter, LinkedIn, and let's get to it. Hoche.
Okay, so my name is Hoche Ojeda. I work for Sari and for Bit Frameworks. We do usually XAF 24/7, XPO 24/7, and now we do Entity Framework 24/7. So big part of the show will be to show our findings and to try to share them with everyone. If you have any doubt, my contact is on the is always on the videos. So Dave?
Yeah, thanks. Dave from Llama Chat Technology. Yeah, we do XAF 24/7. We have been focusing on XPO for years. We're starting to dabble into Entity Framework a little bit for one or two projects, but we haven't done a deep dive yet. So, yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. So before we start, of course, this is the article that DevExpress has created for everyone who is always asking, hey, why Entity Framework now is the default ORM when you create a XAF solution? One thing that is actually got me, I don't know how I feel about this, but I understand. If you see all the new tutorials for anyone getting started is Entity Framework now. If you want to see the one from XPO, you need to go down to at least version 22.1. So I understand technical documentation and technical guidance. That's a cost and a resource that the Express have to facilitate. And of course, you have here the business design with XPO, so there is the information there. But I do feel that when we have a couple versions in the future, this will get lost on the sea of documentation. So taking some steps in that regard, if we go to my GitHub, and you see all the public repository, we're going through all of those ones, and we're migrating them here and having them because we want to preserve, because every people that we train, everyone, we always make them go through those tutorials. So we have it here, all of them. I hope this is not breaking any license from DevExpress. I'm pretty sure they will let me know. But we took a step forward for the Spanish community. So we now can go to the Spanish, and we will have all of these tutorials, documentations, and everything also in Spanish. So if they are struggling with the language barrier, they will have here as well all of those. Of course, I still have to create some type of page where link to all of this, some type of documentation. Right now, it's all scattered through my GitHub, but I think at least we have a place that we're gonna have for the Spanish community all these tutorials, and also we're gonna talk today about Entity Framework back and forward. I will say it beforehand, I'm not in love at all, but it is what it is. We'll get on it. There is a lot of good things. I think that there is also a lot of good things, but it's a different way of thinking through. But coming to this article right here, there is the main reasons why we are focused on Entity Framework now. I think that one of the biggest one is there is 650 million downloads of the package. That means a lot of community and developer use it. For XPO, there is only 6.3. So that makes sense. Like, I think that more people using Entity Framework will have access to SAF now. I don't have to learn a new RM. So I also know that there is a lot of, and I think one of these one here, a lot of discussion about the multiple active result sets, because that means that for any other engine like that is not SQL Server, Entity Framework is having some difficulties there. So feel free to read all of this. It's a good reading, and they explain everything regarding that. But let's start now with things that we know for sure that are not out of the box on Entity Framework. Out of the box Entity Framework, we don't have soft delete. We don't have at least not how we are used on we have to do things for that. We don't have concurrency. We don't have the migrations on the database automatically that you add a property and right away it gets updated. And we have solutions like for all of those. So we'll talk to them about here and go from there. Jocho, Gianpaolo, would love if you could introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your experience with Entity Framework, and then we can start picking one of these features apart, show it, and run a daily application and see it in action.
Yes, good day. My name is Jean-Paul. Some people call me also JP or JPT, whatever. We are developing also in XAF 24 hours, 7 days a week, I think. Yeah, we have I have a lot of experience regarding Entity Framework. Not in combination of XAF, of course, because it was lacking support between XAF and Entity Framework. Now, if you look at the current, the latest version of 23.1, I can say it's being there, but there's a lot of functionality missing. And we will use this session to show you those missing parts and things we have done in the previous projects regarding working with Entity Framework.
Got it. Hey, thanks a lot, Gianpaolo. Actually, I have to mention this. Gianpaolo, we reached out to Gianpaolo for him to help us with a few of these tasks. So he has been all hands-on, and he has been a lot of help for us. So thanks again, Gianpaolo. Jocho, do you want anything else to add regarding the deletion, property, new objects, all object, clone, audit trail, anything you want to go mapping to a database view, anything?
Well, the thing is that, as Jean-Paul mentioned, is not quite there regarding the integration. It's not like XPO and SAF that is, it looks like the same animal, but they are not actually. We were having this discussion like 5 minutes ago before we start the meeting. And the thing is that Entity Framework, it is a little bit more, well, it's way more modern than XPO. So the design pattern is totally different. And they try to provide you the way to do the stuff, but not do them for you. So in the most simple scenario, Entity Framework is what an ORM should be, just persistent. I read, I write, I show it, I load it, and that's it. And it's up to us to add all the functionality that we're used to it. So I remember that XPO used to get a lot of hate because people don't understand them in some cases. But now that people is moving to Entity Framework and they realize XPO did all this functionality for us, now everyone is falling in love with the with the old XPO, right? So the purpose of this meeting is to try to make a bridge and show everyone, okay, this is how we are used to do it in XPO. In Entity Framework, it's not like that, but this is one of the possible solutions, because there are hundreds of solutions that you can implement in Entity Framework. So if you want, Javier, you want to start, or do I start with one of the cases?
Sure. I'm trying to think how would be the best way to start, because I would like to show Jean-Paul's solution of those couple of things, and then show also different solutions, because this, as you're saying, we have several ways to accomplish the same thing. So I think that I can start. Let's do one first that I know that everyone wants to see, and then we go to the other ones, and we go this one. Jean-Paul.
You're sharing already, so you can start. You can
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So let's start with basically, let me delete the database. And let's start with migrations. This is the first one. So basically, we have a separate project, DB Migrator. And I was actually discussing with Jorge, why can we not just basically take the code that we have in this project and basically paste it in our program filing or application or someplace, so it runs automatically like it does in XAFers, of course, with some conditional, like if it's in the book mode, and with some like try catch, like only if there is a mismatch or things like that. But basically right here, we are building our DB context, and we are calling our database migrate, and it takes care of everything. And if we go to our model, and this project is also completely public. If we go to migration right here, there is the steps that we need to do. Basically, we need to add the reference to this Nube package, the entity framework core design. Then in our class, the design time factory, and we're going to check that one. Basically, this is commented out, this all other part, and then this is throwing the section. So basically, we do it the other way. We comment that line and put everything. And let's put it here. Let's follow the README, so the migration commands. Let's put this here. And let's go. Put in document. And if you see here, basically we have to uncomment out this and comment out the section. And after that, if we follow the tutorial, we make sure that we have the .NET different global tool, and then we do our migration as we are used to. So let's first thing do is open folder in File Explorer and delete all these migrations. Right, and then we just go to our terminal and then run the command, and let's do like the initial setup. So right here, I want to mention that if you, like I just deleted the database, if you run the application, by default, XAF creates the database, but that doesn't create a migration, that you only call ensure database created. So if you do this migration and then run the application, XAF will create the database, but this migration hasn't been run. So when you're trying to run it, it will tell you, hey, the tables are already there. So we could do it two ways. We don't do this migration, we only do it after that. Or we do this, we do one migration, let it take care of that, and then we run the DB migrator project, that is the one that goes and does all the changes. Let's give it a second. All right, getting there done. If you want to remove the migration, you just call the entity framework. So with that, we can basically run this one now. And that should go, again, this is the small code that will take care of it. And if you see, we're logging everything to the console, so you can actually see what is being sent. You see, all the commands are being sent, it's creating everything. Good to go. All right, now we should be able to run the application, and that the database should be already created and everything. So here, in this case, we did it through the migration. We didn't let SAP do it, but we can actually let SAP do it and then do our first migration afterward. So let's run it and then let's add a new property. Give it a second. The end goal, I believe, it will be to be able to, instead of having a separate project, make it as a part of the pipeline when SAF is running in the book mode, as we do with XPO, that we don't even have to check anything, it does it for us. Right? Right. All right, and we have our application. We go to concurrency object, we have these 4 properties and so on. Now let's go to that same object and let's create a new one. Let's string test5. All right, now after we did that, we come back to our PowerShell and then let's do the other migration. Test5. We'll create the migration. And we can even go to our migration folder. It's not there yet, right here, test5. And one thing that actually Jean-Paul was mentioning, and he will talk about this a bit more when we get to that part. If you see, everything that is a string property is being mapped to barjack max. That doesn't make sense. I think that it should be the different. I know that we have, and I will see attributes from entity framework, but there are better ways to do it here. Okay. Now we have this in place. Go to our migration project again. Same thing. You can start it as a new project and run it, or basically create an instance and run the second migration, and then we should be able to run our application. Have our application running, no error of a schema is not updated, and so on. Okay, we can see actually the queries and everything that did there. Good to go. Let's close this out, run the application. Almost there. All right. I think that this is one of the things that I have seen everyone having issue with. I haven't met no one that for the first time everyone has had a little bit of issue with migration. So now we have test5, we're good to go. All right, that will be the migration part. Okay, I think that a good next feature, Jose, will be if Jean-Paul can show his concurrency work around, and then you show the one that you found, and then we see both. That would be a great.
Perfect. Jean-Paul, do you want to continue or should I start?
Let me first unmute so you can hear me. I can start with my project. I've shared the link. Can be found online. The repository is public now. I can go to that part first or whatever.
Yep. You start, and then I will be showing another version of the same concurrency check, and then we discuss it.
I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Is it readable or is it too small?
Maybe a little bit bigger, Jean-Paul, because I'm in small screen, so I don't see it. Perfect.
Maybe I can change it on my 1 second. Let me scale my system first. Probably it's better now. I think is much better now for everyone.
Yes, menus are bigger, and also font was bigger before, so I think it's good for everyone.
Perfect. Let me modify the. Yes, now it will fit. Yeah, this is the project structure. There is one project added. That's the DB migrator. That's explained in the README of the project. But within the module, we have a lot of configuration, of course. I started with one sample. That's a book sample, an entity that's defined over here. This is all we do. I don't like all the attributes that you see quite often within your XAF solution, where you define all kinds of things behind the scenes. What we have constructed is a book configuration. A book configuration is launched when entity frameworks is used, and in this case we use this method to place a prefix on the table, even use, for instance, a different schema, but also things like that certain fields has a different lengths in characters. So in this case, it's 128. It's required. If you look at XPO, all fields that are constructed are nullable and are not required. And you can ask, do I rely on the validation module and put a lot of constraints within my solution, or do I use this method? That's the same as adding the property is deleted. That's a mechanism that we use to show soft delete, or to support soft delete. By default, everything what's thrown away is or what is deleted in XAF will be hard deleted from the database. But sometimes you prefer the soft delete method. Then you can.
Hey, Jean-Paul, can you increase a little bit the size right there? Thank you.
Better?
Yeah, that's better, a lot better.
So this is property definition. So in this case, we add a new property that's is deleted, because if we go back to the book, you see that it's not defined over here. It's in this part. You don't see the property back in the configuration. We add that property as an additional field. There's also with a query mechanism that is used where we say that we only want to see the rows that are not deleted. If you look at XPO, we use a GC record with an ugly number in it. And in this case, we use a Boolean, and the Boolean should be false, and then we present the data. And if it's not false, it will be filtered out, so it's not visible in the UI, etc. Then we have another property. That's the price, where we say that it's money, because in the definitions of book it's decimal over here. Where is it? Decimal. But if you leave it as decimal and you don't override it, you get a complaint by Entity Framework that you are losing resolution and the data. So this should be done on the property, but it can be removed. And I will show you later where we do an overall. Here we do this trick. This is this part. This is where we say every column should be, every string column should be treated as an nvarchar 100. So I don't like the max value. In this case, all columns are treated as 100, and in this case, a decimal is mapped to money. So this solves this part. So we could leave that out in the book configuration over here. So this is done in a global fashion. And we say also that the book title is unique. We want to have a unique book title, and we can assign over here that there is a unique index based on it. So that means that there is a constraint on the database. There's a discussion we had before that when I do it by a soft, by the validation engine, what it is doing, it's checking the database, and between the checking within the database and inserting the value, it can be done also in a separate session, so that will result in 2 unique values within the database, because there is a delay between the checking and the inserting or updating. And this case, we make the database checking that there needs to be a unique value in it, so that solves the trick. The problem is that we've seen that we changed the string value to 100, but certain, like the report, where is it? This is the report data. Here we go back to the original values, as you can see within XPO. So the string is definitely changed to length of 100, but here we say the data type name should be 512. And this is a definition as you would find back also in your XPO. So this, in this case, we override all the the XPO or the values that are not, that cannot deal with 100 characters. So in this case, we go back to max value. So this configuration, it's accessible in the repository that's online. You can have a look and feel. The book is over here. This is a part that I think last week introduced, Safe Change Interceptor. This gives us the opportunity to, when the book is saved during an insert or an update, we can deal here with some, take a look at the code. In this case, we iterate to all the entities that are touched by the modifications or the inserts, and we check the properties. In this case, we check if it's modified, and then we deal with properties like metadata, the original file in the current file. I think that the latest version of XAF has also fixed the original and current value, but in this case, we have access at the change tracker and the entries from book. So this, check this code, and this is at the start of the DB context save changes. This is an option to deal, let's say, to introduce your own audit trail mechanism or whatever you would like to do. That can be overtaken over here. Do we have some other interesting things in here? Definitely. Maybe I leave the save changes. This one, the soft delete to Jose. Let me do the concurrency check. That's also part of the definitions we have. If we check over here and my conventions, we have a concurrency stamp. This mechanism introduces a new column, a column version called within the database. This column is marked as a concurrency token. This value will be generated during an add or an update. And we give it a name, but in this case it's the same name as over here. But there is a column added to the table that uses this mechanism. And this allows us to, if you look over here, when we check the on-saving, where is it? The save method, the save changes are put into a try catch because there can be a violation. And if there is a violation raised by the save changes regarding a DB update concurrency exception, then we can make a user-friendly message. Because if you leave this out, this part, you get a pretty nasty message from XAF. And this gives you more control over the message that you want to display during the concurrency violation. And this is also a thing, and this is a special library that has been loaded, where we have specific, I think that this is inheriting from the DB update. This is the standard exception, but there are additional exceptions within the library, within this library, where we can deal with, for instance, but we need to drill down to the inner exception and then to the message. If you take this one and then there's also a message over here, then you get a stupid message like unique constraint violated, and that's it. And this one will tell what property is violated and what rule is throwing this exception. So this is a more detailed one. So you can drill down in specific exceptions over here. So take a look into the repository if you think it, if you want to play with it or if you have questions about this. So I think that, yeah, there is a lot of stuff done over here. There's a lot of configuration work. It can be more compact, but I think this is the most flexible way when you want to extend it yourself. So have a look into this yourself. I think this is everything I can tell you regarding.
You can tell more than that, Jean-Paul.
Yeah, more than that. That's
I know.
of course.
Okay. I guess
maybe I want to
move
come back
forward.
because I have some interesting things. I have introduced a controller over here a couple of days ago regarding, I don't know if you have seen this part. And also this is an issue, of course, because the object space doesn't affect the DB context and also not the change tracker. So yeah, sometimes you want to make use of that in certain parts. I have to check out if the validation module is still working properly. If you drill down to the context over here, I don't know how the audit trail is dealing with data that's changed over here. And so that's a thing I still need to find out, because the XAFers is saying that you should not go this path to drill down to the DB context. But the problem is the API of entity frameworks is much function rich compared to what the current object space is offering us. So this is
that's a difficult choice, Jean-Paul, because as you said, the API from Entity Framework is so rich in features and things that you can do with it that you wonder if you going through the object space is even worth it, right?
yes, but in this case, if I replace this by object space, the problem is that this is empty. If you look into this portion, you will see that there is nothing changed. There is only something changed if you do this. So in this case, I have to drill down, in this case, to the context of this object space to chase modifications on. In this case, I go to the, I change to the context. But let's say that I change, because what I do over here, I check the selected books, I cast them to an array, or in this case, a list of GUIDs, and then I chase the books again, but not through the object space, but directly through the context. But my question is, if I do this modifications on the selected books, is this going, sorry. Yeah, how does the what is it? The validation engine works? Definitely not.
Yeah, I can tell you why not. I was working on that. I was reading the source regarding that, and this is what happening when you do SAF. When you're using the object space and you say like create object, it gets created by an activator, and then the instance get attached to the context. So right now, the instances that are attached to the context are not the same that you have directly with the DB set. So I think that what we should do is, between all of us, take a look to the entity framework object space and do some extensions and do some observations on what we would like to have. If this is the way that we're going, like what we would like to have available for the object space. And I guess it's a lot of extensions. That's the way to go to extend it. But definitely we need to take a look on how SAF handles the creation and loading of objects because of the tracker, because it's so important in here. Because some of the examples that I have to show, they depend on the tracker, and if you don't attach the entity correctly, it goes crazy. It goes crazy.
No, I also
Sorry
think
for
that
the
there is.
interruption.
I also think that there is a little bit of a, and I definitely understand the Express saying, "Hey, try to use the object space. That's our API. That we will handle everything." But we don't have everything yet. And not only that, that's a great advice for someone starting. But if you see, there are other tickets where they say, okay, you have to use this using the entity framework API. So they are actually telling us in some case, like the first tickets from the clone, it will say, hey, you should do that in the way that entity framework does it. So, and I will definitely use caution, but I will definitely go to the level of the DB context when we have to do things that we need to. So that was my 2
Yes,
cents.
especially if you look over here, of course, where we say, for instance, make the book title unique. This is constraint that will be on the database, and that will definitely not handled correctly through the validation engine, except when we put a rule into the entity itself. I don't have the oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. Where is my business object over here? But I don't have the rules, I think. No, I don't have my. Normally, I have a rule, a template over here, where I can say rule unique value, and it will write out the correct syntax. But normally, you have an attribute over here saying this is unique. So that means that you have defined your rules twice, one for the validation module, and this way to let's say that we use the API, and I want to enforce the uniqueness of the book title through the API. So that means that I need this rule. And it is definitely not covered by the validation engine if it's also not defined on the book title by an attribute, as you normally do in XAF.
Yeah, the thing is that in general, I think that XPO tries to be more agnostic and not depend on the database engine to do some stuff like
Things,
the validation,
yes.
like the
Yeah,
unique
but
validation.
I think the validation engine is just for the cosmetic UI and nothing more than that.
Exactly, because you can, what usually happens in normal development in SAF is that maybe you're learning and you're trying to test different models. So you define an object, like the title should be unique. The title should be unique, but you don't have the rule yet. You enter some records and then you add the rule. That rule will not change the database. Will just change, as you said, it will work in the UI level.
Yes,
Because
yes, you need to.
They might be repeated books titles in
Yes,
the database,
you need
and it will not crash.
You need to validate it yourself again against the engine before you use the save changes.
Yeah,
But,
and you need to also to make sure that you have all your business logic in place before you start using the application. That's tricky, especially if you're new.
yes, yes.
Because if not, you will add rules that will break with information that is already on the database.
Yeah, but this rule ensures forever that the book title will be unique.
Yeah, and it's also somehow like a design pattern in general, Jean-Paul, because you can do that by adding indexes in XPO. You will have a really ugly exception, but then you handle that specific exception and parse the information. But if you introduce indexes, you can have the same effect as you will have it in here.
Yes,
so,
yes.
But it depends on how attached you want to be to your DV engine, or if you want to be more agnostic. And here, I guess Javier will have an opinion, because sometimes, for me, I like to do the stuff in the code way. You do code first approach, but you don't change database engines so often in general, or almost never. People who you develop for SQL Server, they develop for SQL Server all the time. So entity framework is it can be, you can fine tune it better. For me, entity framework, it seems that you can fine tune it better than XPO, just because you can do those little, like, I don't know, like use the specific types. You can do also that in XPO, but it looks like it's more on the surface for entity framework.
Yes.
No, I think that the one starting, we should hide too much things that they don't have to do at the beginning, and then when they get in the things that you need to go deep and customize, then they can. If you do it the other way around, you are adding a level of complexity that is, I don't know, I think that desanimate people when they are trying to get something up and running for some small things. So, but definitely, and actually, I think that the DevExpress answer will be, hey, you Google an entity framework core solution. So kudos to you, and go for it. Keep going. All right, I want to mention something that I should have mentioned at the beginning of the meetup. I wanted to do it now at the middle, and I will do it again at the end. I probably edit the video and put this disclaimer at the beginning of the mirror. Let me share my screen, and Jose, I will give you the screen right away. So this is a ticket that Danny is saying. We do not encourage ORM migrations. If you have been using XPO for a long time and you have a big system, this is not, you don't have to migrate to Entity Framework just because now you see things XPO works. And they say we have not done that. It will not be an easy replacement. I'm just letting you guys know. I have a customer that we're going through that right now, and I'm confident that he did it just for the article of DevExpress, why we are choosing Entity Framework instead of XPO, the one that we showed at the beginning. But that should be for new projects. If you have a huge project that you already maintain, that it has worked with no issues, that there is no need, please, there is no need for you to go through all the trouble, all the hassle of moving to Entity Framework. That's it. That's the disclaimer I should have said at the beginning. I will say now, I say at the end, because I think that people are kind of getting scared and they are now tackling this huge migration project that it will be painful. So that's it. Jose, go for it.
Okay, so which one do we have in the list? Should I show the soft delete again and the concurrency?
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, so we're going to do a huge bridge between being in Chile and my machine at home. So, okay, this is also in a public repo. We did this test in 2 different ways. We did them along with Entity Framework only, not SAF. And then we move all of them to SAF. So as Jean Paul explained, there are several ways to do things in Entity Framework. And one of the ways that we kind of like is, let me show the soft delete first. So for the soft delete, we have this object, simple plain object. And I hope that I'm showing the right screen. So see, 2 properties, not extra property to handle the is deleted. And what we do is we create a configurator class. And this configurator class, we, as also Jan Paul showed, we extended in the builder, we tell them we add the property is deleted. And then we add a filter to say, okay, when you use the DB set, give me all the records where is deleted is equal false. When you do to list on the DB set, that will happen. So this will affect the mechanism underneath Entity Framework and XAF. So you will always get only that records that are not marked as deleted. If you hear some noise, sorry for that. I'm traveling and my downstairs neighbors are really noisy. So I hope you don't hear the music. So to use this configurator, you see there is only one reference. And you apply them in one moment in the DB context. So on model creating, you can get the model builder and then apply configurations. And what is neat about this is that you can do this in XAF with the types info. You can add like attributes and modify the types. But in here, we are adding soft delete to the object that I just showed you before, the soft delete here. Or you can also add to a different object that is not even in this assembly. For example, in here, we're adding the soft delete functionality to the report data. So if I run this, and let me put the database in top.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm striving for is that all of these configurator, all of those things, to try to find a way to do it in generic way, like for every object or things like that. For example, or the migrator, do it in the same project. or like Jean-Paul show a place that all strings goes to just the bar chart 100. So this type of settings that go globally instead of having to do one by one.
Okay, so here I have the report data class, and see it has the is deleted column. So let me log into the application. I will create one report.
You should show the on-saving also, the on-saving part, because that's doing the...
Oh, yes. The one who is marking, okay. Thanks for that, Jean-Paul. I totally forgot about that. Okay, so let's one report. And before I save, I will go, well, I will do it right now because maybe I will miss it. So in the context, we have this that I basically stole from JP, from JP repository. It's a huge copy and paste. So let me find this. Where is it? Here we have this method. So we put a breakpoint here. And we put a breakpoint here. And we go here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is sample report. Actually, the report, we don't care about it. Let's just finish this. We just want to create the record. And then, okay, we are done. Let's save this and close. Yes, we want to save it. So now what is going to happen is, this is when XAF committed changes is going to invoke the same changes from the context. And here, the trick is, okay, you get the tracker. And in the tracker, you tell them, like, does this entity, the tracker has like this proxy object with all the values and everything that changed in the object. And we're asking if any of the members' name is deleted, then go into the if, right? So the entity has a state, if it's added, if it's deleted, and so on and so forth. So if it's added, we can put the is delete equals false. And if the entity is deleted in deleted state, then we mark it as true. So right now it was added, so it means that it's false. So if I go here to the database, and then we can we like just execute again? Yeah, see, there is a record here, and is deleted is equal false. So I can see it in here. If I delete it here, you will see that now it's going to save again, and it's going to mark it as deleted because the state is, I think, our boss is here.
But the state is deleted. The state is deleted, but you don't want to delete it, so you set it back to modified.
And then mark it as true in the for the is deleted property. So now what will happen is, okay, it's not here anymore. If I refresh, it's still not there, but it's still in the database. The thing is that the state changed, right? Now it's marked as is deleted. So now here I don't see it. I can refresh, and it will not be here. But if I go here and I edit this record and I set it to false, then when I refresh, I will see it back again in the UI. See, and that magic happened because when we did the configurator for that entity, we told something like, okay, add this column and also add this filter, which is this one here. So we are excluding everything that is marked as deleted. You can even actually, as Jean-Paul mentioned, here we're setting the state back to modify. Here, instead of just adding a simple true, you can add a timestamp, something that makes sense for your business logic. So you are able to restore it later if you want. But in the most simple case, just like a Boolean mark is more than enough. So that's everything for the soft delete. And now we'll show concurrency. One of the ways to handle concurrency.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question about the soft delete before we move on?
Yeah.
How does
Yeah,
that
of course.
behave with aggregated collections? So if you delete a client and the client has a bunch of contacts, what happens to the contacts in that case? Do they all get marked for
Well,
deletion?
Yes.
Well, I think that you can actually set the behavior. I mean, you can get the tracker and see, okay, this is what I need to do in general. But the short answer is, as Jean-Paul say, yes. But you can actually modify the behavior, like to
you
do
need
it like aggregated or not.
The aggregated collections should be provided also with this property or with this mechanism. So else if you don't do that, the collections will be deleted forever. But if you make the aggregated collections also using the same soft delete support, then they will be yes, soft deleted.
Marked as deleted.
Marked as is deleted true. Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move forward here. So let's talk about concurrency now. Or Javier, you want to say?
Nah, you was saying the same thing that Jean-Paul. So make sure that you don't put soft delete just on the parent and think that the other one are going to be self deleted. You're gonna lose the whole collection.
Yeah. Okay, so regarding concurrency, so there are several ways in this. The first approach that we have to this is that we met with Jean-Paul and he explained us some of the trick as he showed before in this meeting. But there is another way to do it. So if you go to this object, we are still inheriting from the base object from XAF. And if you use this attribute, like the timestamp attribute, this will be a timestamp that will be automatically increased by entity framework without any additional code. So this timestamp will serve as a raw version, which means that if two people have the same record, it will check the raw version or the timestamp to make sure that it's updating the right exact object. So in this case, it's as simple as doing this. Of course, you should mark this as non-browsable in SAF because if not, you will see it in the UI. And there is a second way that I will explain just a little bit later, but let me go to the controller to explain this because we have a controller for that. So in here, the example is kind of really simple. Basically, we create an object in code with one object space, then we commit that object space. Then we read the same object in two different other object spaces, and then we commit it in one and try to commit it in the second one. That will create a concurrency problem because both of them read the same file, but once it's time to commit, the record has changed because one of them already committed changes. So the second case this will fail actually. So let's run that. So test concurrency. Let me remove this because I don't need it anymore. On my computer, no, there you go. My computer at home. So let's remove this. Yes. Okay, so right now, at the current moment, we created the object, we commit it, we read it with the object space 1, and then we also read it with the object space 2. And object space 1 already committed changes. So at this moment, the record in database has this value, test1. When the second one tries to commit, without you doing anything, Entity Framework will check the raw version and check if they're the same, it will update it. If they're not, it will throw a concurrency error. So here they say like, okay, the database operation basically failed, so there was no rows affected. And it's because of the concurrency. So it's kind of the automatic, easy way to do it. There is also a different way, a third way, because Jean-Paul showed one, this is a second way, and there is a third way to do it, which is you can mark any of your properties as concurrency check. It will save exactly the same purpose. The main difference between the timestamp and the concurrency check, and here you can see what I wrote about it, is that if you mark something with the concurrency check attribute, it means that you are in charge of increasing the value or changing the value in any way to make the row distinct from each other. So this one I will not use it because I don't increase the value. But if you have a mechanism yourself to increase the value or to make the value be different all the time, you can use this. This can, I think, can be useful in a legacy model where you have something like that already implemented at database level or whatever. So you can mark it as concurrency check column, but you're in charge to increase the value or change the value, actually, not increase it. It's not necessarily a numeric number. So that is the other way. And Javier, do you want to show the
Jose, let's do something like I can guide you where I think that we should show. I think that we should show now the login. That's just a piece of code. We don't have to show anything else. And then the attach.
Okay.
That way we see in the login the queries that the attach is generating and why do we think this is a really cool thing.
Okay, so there are several ways of logging things in Entity Framework. Sorry for the noise because my neighbors are going crazy having a Monday, morning party. So, okay.
I don't think we hear the noise. I don't hear anything.
That's good because it's huge. It's huge. Okay, so there are several ways to log in Entity Framework. So one of the ways is that, let me scroll down. On the onConfigure, you can basically add the option, use the option builder, and just add the method log2, and you can pass a lambda expression where you will receive the message and just write it to the debug console. This is the easiest way. Doesn't require any external NUET or anything. You can just write it to the debug console or get that value from there and save it in whatever place you want to save it, in another database, in a file, an XML, whatever. That's one way. And the second way is that you can create a logger factory. And in the logger factory, you have the same pattern of like extensions and configuration. So in here, you can tell, okay, I want to label just in this, like just information, just warnings, just exceptions or whatever. And then you add the output. This can be debug or console, any of those. And something that is really important, this if you do it just like this, you will log only the query, but not the parameters value. So you will log the insert, but you will not log what are you inserting. If you want to see what you are inserting, and this came from Jean-Paul also, you have to enable sensitive data logging. That will include the query and the parameters value. So you will see the insert, and you will see each of the parameters that you're inserting, which value it has. Right now, we're actually running with this. So And I guess it's the perfect time to show the attach functionality. So the attach is, the idea is, you know that in XPO, if you want to delete a record, you need to first load it, then delete it. And that can be really heavy because if the object is complex, you will load that object with a lot of other references just to delete it. So for the touch functionality, there's a controller for that also here. What you do is, knowing something about the object, you can attach it and start tracking the changes. So, for example, in here, we have almost the same case as the concurrency. Actually, it's the same object. We create an instance, and then we commit it to the database. Then from that instance, we get the ID and the timestamp. We need the timestamp for one reason, because we need to tell them it's the same raw version that we were using before, because we are using the concurrency check in this object. If we were not using that, basically, you don't need to add this line. This is just extra because of the concurrency check. And you will see it will make sense when we see the query. So then what will happen is, like, I can create a proxy. You need to understand that proxy theory about Entity Framework Core. Also, XAF use it. So I create a proxy. Basically, I create an empty placeholder of an object, and I tell it, this is your ID, and this is your timestamp. So it will assume that this object was loaded from the database. As instead of loading it, it will assume, because it has the proper information to track it, which is the timestamp and the ID. And then we get the DB context and we attach it. And then basically with the object space, we delete this object and we commit the changes. So what will happen in here is that we will commit the object. We will create an object in memory that we know the timestamp and the ID. We delete it, so we'll not load it again from the database, and you will see the query that it gets generated. So let's run this, because I found this beautiful in the case of mass updates and mass delete. There was one extension for XPO created by Robert Anderson, Zero Sharp, that did something like this for mass delete and mass update. The only thing that you couldn't handle was reference properties, but you could handle like primitive properties to create an object or to create an update or a delete without loading the objects. So okay, so let's go to, well, here we have the controller. So let's get the console first. Attach object. So here you see that it created the insert. So inserted the object. So let's clear this. And you will see that there are no other queries from here on. When we continue, we already attach an object. So this object that is attached, it has the, well, here you can see it. You can see the ID here in this tooltip. And if I delete it, it will just create the delete query. And when I commit the update, it will just happen. It's deleted, mark it as deleted. Then when I commit, you see here, delete from, and there where ID and timestamp both need to match. If I only had the ID, it will tell that there is a concurrency error because it's not the same. You're deleting a record that someone else has changed because it will have a different timestamp. So this is really nice and kind of really simple here, the implementation. So I will put the link for this repo also in the chat, so you can grab it from there.
There is no select. We are not loading anything. Just a delete directly with the where. Good to go. That's
Just
beautiful.
imagine that we have 1 million records there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So Javier, I think we're going to your side.
Yeah, let me
Is there
see
anything-
if there is anything else that we're missing. Okay, Jose, there is one
They
last thing.
they own a new value.
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Show it.
Yeah.
Show
Then-
it.
yeah,
If
then
you start getting
let me show
noises,
this.
I'll take over.
Okay. Because it seems that my neighbor is actually increasing the volume, like he's liking the songs even better, or more. Okay. So everyone complained about the special set of XPO. But once you don't have it, you start to loving it, of course, like everything in life. So in here, I have a really simple object with the explicit implementation of I notify property change and the explicit implementation of I notify property changing. And for the ID, I just wrote the normal implementation, like with the huge set, as you can see here with the logic, like it's the same, it has not changed, so you don't trigger anything. But this is not all we want, but I just leave it like that in here because I wanted to show you, okay, see how different it gets. But see this, the property name and the property last name. They both have the set property value, which matches the same signature and name of the set property value of XPO. In here, I wrote that method. It doesn't come from the base because this doesn't have any special base. And what we do is basically we check if the property value is the same as the one that we had before. And if it's the same, we just return, we don't trigger the notification. And if it's different, we call the onChange method that I actually wrote in here. This is my method. You can make it public and virtual, so you can see it in the, or protected virtual, so you can see it in the base classes, so in the child classes. And then we invoke the property change for everyone that is listening to this. We pass these arguments. And also you can extend the arguments. You can inherit from that class the old value to that argument, the specific arguments that are yours only, and pass the value there. But if we want to like basically work with this as in the same way that we will use with XPO, the magic is already done. So name and last name, they both have the special setter. So let's run it and see how it goes. Okay,
Well,
so
okay, you have it up. Go for it.
yeah, so let's here. This will be Sarita. Let me clear this. And then we hit tab and see the property name that changed was name. The old value is null and the new value is Sarita. And now let's change this to the new member of the family, Emma. And let's change here. The property that has changed was name. The old value is Sarita, the new value is Emma. So everyone who is calling the specific setter will actually get the notification with the old and new value. So we change last name, old value is null, last name is Colombier, like new value is Colombier, and that's it. So basically, with everything that we have shown you today, you can grab all the pieces and make it work almost the same as XPO or really closer with even extra functionality. So any question regarding this?
One thing that I want to add, Jorge, I think that this is important. I might be crazy, but I think that the first version of the base object from Entity Framework, it had I notify property change implemented. Then that's not the case anymore. I don't know why I think that. I probably should go back and verify. Right now, only have ISAF entity object and IO space link, and through the change proxies, don't recall exactly, they inject the iNotify property chain. That's why you don't have to put it in any of your property. You basically just do.
I think, Javier, that what we need to check is go back and check if the add proxy method existed, and if it didn't, they had the property change explicit.
Yeah. So the main point here with what Hoche showed is that, okay, you know, right here, you only have to put a get and set, and the notify property chain gets injected. You don't have to take care of that. You're good to go. At the same moment that you added explicitly, as Jose had, to put the set property value, if you miss in any of your property that set property value or the on-chain, so that explicit implementation, it will not notify. So you have to make sure that if you have your object and you put iNotify property chain here for any reason, you have to do it to every property or it will not work. It will only, so right here, if it doesn't have it, it get injected. If you have it explicitly, you have to do it. Just keep that in mind because that virus later last week. So we say, why is this not working? And it was just an oversight on our side. So that's basically it. I don't want to make the meetup too long. I think that we have covered a lot of things on Entity Framework. I would love to hear some feedback, especially people that are using Entity Framework with a different database than SQL Server, or any other things that you guys are playing with or doing, and any solution that you guys find, please let us know. Both repos, let me just move this over here. Both repos are public right now. This is the one from Jean Paul. This is really good one, and this is the one that Hoche has on his repo. Also, this is a ticket from Jean Paul that he put, like, I think a couple months ago. I think that is a really good one. It goes to a lot of things. It doesn't go only to the delete issue that the object space is deleting, doesn't report correctly, but it also talks about things that he has tried and things that are missing and so on. It's just a good overview. We have discussed most of them here, but basically I think that is a great read. Right here is the object change all and new value and the issue around that. Right here is the same thing about the field size is ignored, and basically we should use the attributes for Entity Framework. And this is, again, big, like, to do it, say it again. We do not encourage ORM migration from XPO Entity Framework if you have a product that is a huge and you have been using it. There are a lot of things that you will have to do. There will not be an easy replacement. We cannot support you on this migration and the errors that you experience, and DevExpress have not done it ourselves and not planning to publish migration guidelines. So we are going through that right now. So if we can help, we probably will be documenting some migrations, but I will definitely say if your system is running and working, you should not entail this path. That will be my 2 cents. I still love XPO. This is what I will keep using in all my projects. The only time that I will use Entity Framework is when the client requires. If that's not the case, if I have complete control of the ORM, it will be XPO. That's my 2 cents. Everyone who wants to add anything, if not, pick your time, and anything that we did not cover, let us know so we do a follow-up. Because if you see, I think that we are still improving. Jean Paul has a solution, then Jose come up with another one, then we are reviewing like different way of doing things, then we're finding something like the iNotify property chain that have us reconsider some other part of our implementation. So this will be evolving. I believe that we will get to a really nice set of features, but if you have one, if you solve one of those issues, please let us know.
I can
So
maybe add something to the problem with Entity Framework is that if you place a ticket in the DevExpress support portal, they will
refer you to
they won't give
Microsoft.
you any solution. They will say go to Stack Overflow, whatever. So if you have an XPO problem, they will definitely solve that or take time for it. But for Entity Framework related things, it's the answer will always be Stack Overflow.
And I think that's why the community here is so important, that we support each other, and anything that we like solve, please share. Like, again, that will help us everyone to build some more powerful base for Entity Framework, because even we have discussed this, even if DevExpress say that Entity Framework is unmatched is matched with XPO in terms of SAF support. I don't think that's the case. XPO has been with SAF since day one. So definitely, I believe you can do everything that you do with XPO, you can do it in SAF, but it's not the same level of support. It's not the same, at least I have to get used to. Let's say like that. There is a lot of things that is not the same way as we are used to it. There is a lot of more things to have in account, more code to put, more things that were out of the box. So definitely this is where the community plays a big part. Anything we can help each other, that would be the idea here.
And also, as Jean-Paul was saying, that if you run into a problem with XPO, they will support you. If not, you have to call Jean-Paul.
Exactly.
That's the solution.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's what we do. So it's picture
no problem.
time.
No problem at all.
Yeah, actually, you learn a lot from other people's problems. So it's good to have like that as for the knowledge base. So we're ready to take a picture. This is going to be from a different country. So if everyone or anyone wants to appear, we have an artist here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and another one, just like this. 1, 2, 3. There is one. We have O'Neill. 1, 2. Oh, we have also Steven. And last one. And we are ready. Thank you, people.
All right, guys. So
Show.
thank everyone for joining. We'll see you next month. Definitely not sure if it will be next month, but we will have a follow-up of all these features and go from there. And as always, keep surfing.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Bye.
Thank you.